Hello YouTube and welcome to the Endgame Review, where we take a second look at cards of interest. This week's card, Eradicated Dragonic Descendant.
Before we get started, I'd like to apologise for the long hiatus that we've all had. It was a rather lengthy and busy Christmas, but we're glad to actually get back on track with some content for you guys. And while I'm still on the topic, I'd like to thank everyone for hitting the 1,000 subscriber mark.
Yeah.
Good to see that everyone, well, all of you guys enjoy our content. We're happy to bring you some more.
As bad as it's been recently.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We're getting back into it now. We're good.
So, starting off, Dragonic Descendant. Well, let's start with the effect. So, the skill is Limit Break 4. Once this unit has attacked and it did not hit its target, you can Counterblast 1 and discard 3 Eradicated cards to restand, and it gets a critical. You can also Counterblast 2 Eradicators to get 5k for the turn, and that part is not part of the limit break, so you can do that whenever.
Right, so that's my turn. The cost and limitations and requirements. So, reiterating on what Aaron just said, the Counterblast 1 isn't a difficult cost to pay, especially, but it's, you know, it gives you like 4 to play with unless you want to flip one. The Counterblast 2 Eradicators in the damage zone to have the power bonus. That's something that will just limitate you from using non-Eradicators because you can't really control what's in your hand, but you can't really control so much what's in damage. Which reflects on the Scarlet 3 Eradicators from hand, which is a bit more plausible with using non-Eradicators, but again, you need to make sure you have Eradicators in your deck, so it's very... Yeah, you basically have to run Eradicators pretty much to run this card, but you don't necessarily have to get the power bonus. It's mainly for that single Counterblast and discard 3.
So the card itself, how does it actually benefit your deck? What's its purpose inside your deck? Now, the main purpose of Dragonic Descendant is basically to pressure your opponent into guarding early and forcing them into that late game scenario where they shouldn't be able to guard, or it's difficult for them to guard the attack. So realistically, 4 damage is the point that Dragonic Descendant really pressures your opponent. Because if it attacks, they've got to guard it. Otherwise, if you get a crit, then it's game. But if they do guard it, then it restands with a crit anyway, so they've then got to guard an extra attack. So it pushes late game for your opponent to that 4 damage mark. Alternatively, if they are on 5 damage, and then you've got this out, then they have to guard 4 attacks, which is one of the best things about the card, in my opinion.
Okay, my overall opinion on the card is I see it as only really useful for that late game. They're on 4 damage minimum, but that would mean that you have to get a crit, and it's pretty reliant on getting that crit, which I've been in so many times where it's crit for game because I can't guard 4 attacks, and they get the crit and win, or they don't and lose. It's also the 4 damage limitation as well, I forgot to mention, which means as a first ride it's pretty bad, which means I don't think the superior ride's even any point in running in the deck.
Well, most people generally don't anyway. They tend to steer towards Linchu as the starter.
So, but again, it's the Counterblast requirements to Counterblast 2 if you wanted to boost it, but you kind of run cards to use a Counterblast other than that. If that's the only thing you're Counterblasting for.
That is another problem with the card though. Unless you do that Counterblast 2 to get the power boost, then if it does fail to hit and you restand, then it's only hitting 11. Yes. So it's a 10 for 2.
It's personal preference at the end of the day. If I swung with Descendant, it would usually be I have just a single Counterblast left, and it would be I swing for 16 with a boost, and I rely on getting that trigger to swing for 16 again. Or if I use the Counterblast 2, then I would swing for 21 straight away. So it forces that perfect guard, forces that heavy guarding. And if I get a trigger, it's another 21. That is a lot harder to guard, but otherwise I feel as if you swing for just the unboost, people will just drop the guard and then perfect guard that second attack that's 26. If you got the trigger. Assuming you put it to the Vanguard.
No, that is fair. But it depends on what that trigger is. In that first scenario, it depends on what the trigger is, in my opinion. If it's the crit, go straight to the rear guard, because then they've got to guard 2 sets of crits. Whereas if you draw or heal, then I guess you could warrant putting on the Vanguard, but it depends how you look at it.
You know, a lot of the time, as I said, it's crit for games. So if you're ever against it, I'd advise just no guy in the first one, keeping yourself on 4 damage, assuming they don't get the crit, then you're absolutely fine. It's the only real way to get past it if you're pushed to that late game scenario.
So it's a dauntless scenario again, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. So last but not least, a relatable card or combo. So a recommendation from ourselves. My recommendation would be to use Phoenix. Now, Phoenix is the same as the
Rising Phoenix.
Rising Phoenix.
Full name, Rising Phoenix.
Rising Phoenix, okay. It's the same as the Cutlass Code for Grand Blue. Yeah, I'll reference that. Or the Bird for Oracles. You Soul Blast 2. As you play it, it's 5k, grade 1, to draw a card. Because of the reride late game, or the Soul Charger, grade 2, which I forget the name of, but it's the superior for Descendant. It's just and you get rid of your starter early game, you know, to retire something that goes into the soul. You have plenty of soul, and the deck's not really using it unless you use the Soul Blast 21 booster for Descendant that you'll be using the soul. So I know it's not Eradicator, but it's a completely overlooked card because you don't have the draw power in Narukami, and that's where I see its downfall, because you neg yourself cards with Cho'o if you're using that, or the starter, and you don't have field presence to...
And Descendant himself.
And Descendant himself. But then again, it's not really a neg, because you neg yourself 1, because you can discard 3 to drive check again, so it's not a neg 1.
Yeah.
But the fact you'll trigger, I think, is kind of a plus. I'm quite happy with getting a constant... dauntless effect.
I can agree with that. That's why it's kind of silly in my opinion.
Very silly. But anyway.
Well, I'd say a card that I would recommend, which everyone already uses, is just Gauntlet Buster, because it's the situation of, well, if you ride Descendant first, what's it doing? Bugger all. At least if you ride Gauntlet, then you've got that fear of a crit straight away, so that they'll have to guard that burst, preferably with their perfect guard, and then that leaves them with 1 less for when you reride Descendant later on, and then you can push them that way for crit for game.
Yeah, so you don't have to rely on just the game going the way you want. They're dropping their guard too much early game to stop themselves from being sent. So it's a good combo with that. But again, I think we both agree you don't even run it at 1 or 2. I don't see Descendant being run more than 2.
I personally run it at 3. Because although, yeah, you don't really want to ride it late, early game, you still need to find it.
You still need to find it. Wow. Fair enough.
If you're just sitting on Gauntlet as a backup, or if you're sitting on your ride break, you really are not doing anything.
So the main cards used, because they're Eradicators, it's the Ride Break, Gauntlet, and Descendant. In that order, I'd probably run 2-4-2. Aaron?
Me? Ooh, I'd probably go 3-2-3. Because the Ride Break onto Descendant, although you're not doing a lot until that limit break point, when you get the Ride Break, it means that you are standing Descendant with that extra 10k, assuming they're on 4 damage.
So or
you've crit them and you've won.
So you always want to go for the Ride Break or find Descendant. I'd much rather just ride Gauntlet and...
But this is just it. Even in that situation, I'd still need to go, realistically, Ride Break, Gauntlet.
So wouldn't you run 3-3-2? So 3 Ride Break, 3 Gauntlet, and 2 Descendant?
No, because I still value Descendant a lot more than I do Gauntlet. Gauntlet's a nice backup. I still need to find Descendant.
I see Descendant as a backup. I see it as a late game kind of. I ride it.
See, that's where our opinions differ, Michael.
Yeah, which is why we do these discussions. But oh well. So you can see how hard it is to win an argument on our teams. But yeah. So anyway, anything else to add, Aaron?
I don't think there's much else to cover on the card. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. We're just giving off little thoughts on it ourselves. But yeah, well, I still think it's one of the. I can't say broken because it's not broken. It's just annoying because it forces the situation that shouldn't otherwise happen in the game, which is attack. Well, if you crit me, you win.
It's an out. It's an out that they shouldn't have. Because
Gauntlet is the out that they shouldn't have. Oh look, retire crit, and I don't have a
I've lost too many games out there. Just they get constant risk retirement, get about 4 damage. I don't have a perfect guard early game, and they just win. Single crit, and I'm dead. So,
getting off that, because I think we're going into a deck break.
Yeah, I know. That's annoying. Getting annoyed at Gauntlet. Anyway, so that will be it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for listening.
Please leave your comments about this sort of video and the format. I hope this guys help. Hope this informs you guys and you enjoy seeing this and like to see more. So please let us know.
So unless you say otherwise, we'll probably try and make this a weekly content thing.
How long till that falls through?
Yeah, no, it won't fall through. It won't fall through. I'm putting my foot down. So yeah, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. As high as it is now, yeah. And we'll see you guys later.